All right.
Okay, everyone, 6 o'clock on the dot. It's Monday evening, and we are rocking and rolling on our Money Mindset Monday, making sense out of life. Chris Miller, my business partner, has been working in financial development and actually helping people create money and save money that outlives them so that they can actually work retired. How about that? And
Wow.
she's been doing it for 25 years. She hasn't lost a dime of 6,000 of her customers. She has not lost a dime of their money. And then myself, 25 years of community development and personal development, working with youth, families, and individuals, coming together to do something that we call make sense out of life. Money Mindsets Mondays. Now, by no means are we experts. By no means are we perfect. By no means are we judging you. We simply on this call like to start off our Mondays with making sense out of life by combining the topic of money and our personal development in a practical way. So, if you have been having the opportunity to watch our calls, then please know I'm getting ready to go back over just a recap of our last month's series that we did. And then I will tell you about what this next month series is. So what we do every Monday at 6 p.m. is we hop on this call. We give you some really valuable content around personal development and financial development. And then we leave you with a challenge to go off and work on throughout the week. If you apply them, you will get results. And we already hear from some people that are applying a lot of what we're talking about. We actually applied this stuff too. I personally am applying a lot of what Chris is teaching so that I can get my financial house in order and take it to the next level. So it's not just about you having no money or lack of money. That's not what this call is about. This is about looking at where you currently sit and expanding from where you are and creating a healthy, happy money life. And they have to start with where you are. So some people who join us are business owners, they're professionals, they make a certain amount of money, they've already been successful, and they're looking to grow to the next level. So last month, we did a series on the topic, what to do when you have expanded, but the environment you're in seems to be shrinking or staying small. You know, when you've done enough personal work or you're just sick and tired of continuing to being in the same spot and you know you've outgrown it. So it looks like what is around you in your current environment is either shrinking or being stagnant. We talked about that for a full month. Here are the 4 things that we covered. 1, recognizing where you are and then embracing it. 2, recognizing if you are ready to let it go. 3, actually letting it go. And then we hopped on a call and we ended with what happens when you actually let a habit or a pattern go. How do you manage the pattern so that they're not managing your life? We talked about all of that on a series of Mondays. Now we start a new chapter. Our new series is a continuation of that, but here's the topic: breaking cycles and exposing money blocks. The conversation for those who find themselves in the same money pattern and have not broken through to the next level of financial success. This is about to get really interesting because the next few calls are going to be about this idea of this block. We hear this a lot, like there's a block around me being, I've only been able to make this amount, or I've only been able to attract a certain amount, or I always seem to keep staying in the same amount of money each month. Well, we're going to dive into this conversation for the next few Mondays and look at where possibly you are repeating some of these patterns and these blocks in your personal development as well. So this is really exciting. Breaking cycles, exposing the money blocks. I'm going to hand this over to my partner, Chris Miller, and she's going to talk to you today and give you some really valuable content around this topic.
Thank you, Tia. I'm really excited to be here with everybody. And first of all, I really want to start with where I start from, because I believe that we all have the birthright to be happy. I believe we all have the birthright to be prosperous and to have more than enough. And we were designed by the divine to have peace of mind, to have joy, to have love, to have abundance. Now, that's the center, that's the core. Now, when you've taken time to pay attention to see what blocks you, right, what's blocking you from living in that fullest place, we're going to dive into that. So starting from this point, money mindset, right, money is energy. So what is it that stops your flow? You may ask, because we talked about the last few weeks, your money DNA, the way you think about it, the way you were brought up, that we were going through all those processes of thoughts around it. So you may ask, can your money DNA be changed? And the answer is yes. The simple answer is yes. So the first insight is to look into these blocks, these habits, these attitudes, and they will actually become strengths. They will actually flip on you. The things that are our burdens, that are our weak spots, actually become our strengths when they're converted in a healthy money process. So we're going to see the options to face the challenges and the things that you feel out of control and out of reach. I find in my life, whenever I hit a wall, and there's some that's blocking, and it's not necessarily that everything that hits me I'm creating, but sometimes these challenges appear to see on how I'm going to react to it, and I have my own blocks. And when I hit that block, I will step back, clear everything, and really check it out to see what is the fear. Why do people want financial freedom, but they can't seem to get it? And it's really comes down to a flow. Money's energy, right? They call it currency, right? It's an energy. So the way that you live, the way that you think around that is going to create the cash flow. It's like a river. So here's a trick. I don't really call it a trick, but it's a key. When you know your mission, your passion, your purpose, so you enjoy, if there's a joy inside of you, then you're going to be able to execute your cash flow plan and be able to stay with it, because your purpose is greater than the momentary pleasure, right, of the whatever you may want to get instead of saving, right? So maybe it's the shock of the reality that calls down from the creditors or the bills, or whatever it is that shakes your space. Take a moment and look at that. That's really a blessing. That's really an opportunity for you. So we have to create an individual strategy to become secure and comfortable and wealthy, because wealthy is a state of mind. So maybe you're kind of stuck in consequences. Maybe you spent or lost your nest egg. Maybe you never had one. Maybe the fear of running out of money keeps you in a limited belief. I've lived in two spaces. I've lived in a space where I've known an abundance and trusted the spirit and everything came to me. Then I've also been inside of the world and seen the limitations and seen the monies, go down to the levels of, okay, I have to do something. And what I really find is those are the opportunities that light the fire underneath me to make a change. And I actually will recreate myself in the moment. That's how I've been successful for 25 years, because every time my business hit the ground, I'd have to recreate it. So fears won't be sabotaging your success. They'll actually become, the blocks will become your incentive. They will actually become the energy that will help you go through the block. So we're going to look at how you change that fear into the energy that will get you through the block. And where you want to go financially, we talked about the money map. We talked about what we were spending, and the personal plan to get that emotion, of course, will be different individually. But when you figure out where you want to go, now we're starting to kind of sketch it in. We're starting to see what these accumulated fears are that are blocks in the cash flow of the river of your finances. So let's start with the safest spending plan for your fabulous future. And we're going to provide that for you. We're going to be able to download that. But in a little bit, I'll tell you about that. But it's going to let us financially grab a hold of our financial DNA and see that our saving is future spending. So it's a whole mindset shift. It's just like instead of budgeting or dieting, it's the same thing, you guys. It changes the energy. So I'm saving for my fabulous future, for my future spending. And it changes the energy around it. It changes the block. And we create what I call cash flow.
Ooh, that's good, Chris. That is so good. I like that, changing the energy so that you lift the block and there's now a flow.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about your personal development, guys. How do we make sense out of all of this? Let's make some sense out of this. Okay. This is one of the topics that I really enjoy. Blocks. I want you to listen. Blocks are obviously things that you can't see. That's why it's labeled a block. Have you ever noticed that you tell yourself, there's a block in this area. I can't seem to get past this. Why do I always end up in the same place? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's money, whether it's physical, whether it's whatever, spiritual, you find yourself in this pattern, and patterns and blocks are two different things. So a pattern is something that you keep repeating like a habit. A block is something that blocks you and keeps you in that pattern. It's something that, just imagine you're on a journey and you're constantly moving, but you don't seem to be getting anywhere because there's something that's blocking you there and sort of keeping you in that cycle. Well, that's a block that you can't see. Usually it is designed for someone else to see. That is why a coach, a counselor, a pastor, someone in your family could possibly see something that you cannot because you're blocked in it. So today I'm going to talk to you about how do you identify this block that you may have. So the first step is you got to commit to not judging yourself as we begin this process, because usually you're blocked in a certain area. You've blinded yourself in that area because there's a lot of feeling and emotion attached to it, like shame, like guilt. And so I want you to right now, as we move through how to identify this block, I want you to first of all to commit to not judging yourself as you begin to expose it and identify it. So number one to doing this is that you have to commit to not judge yourself. Don't make up anything of it. Okay? No judgment. Love yourself unconditionally. That's the first step. Second step, I want you to pay attention to something. This is very sobering. It's a question you don't have to answer right now, but I want you all this week to be thinking about it. Here's the question. What are you afraid of seeing about yourself? What are you afraid of seeing about yourself? That's the second step. If you see it, what story is wrapped around that you're seeing? So first of all, don't judge yourself. Second of all, ask yourself the question, what am I afraid of seeing about myself or knowing about myself? Because right there, you have put up a block to keep yourself safe from feeling shame, from feeling guilt, from feeling hurt, from feeling let down. And so you've created a block. And that block is something that you can't see. And in order to see it, you got to commit in your heart that you won't judge yourself. And then the next step is to ask yourself, what am I afraid of seeing or knowing about myself that I'm hiding it from myself. And then the last piece to that is, if you see it, admit to the story that you're making up around it. So, practical. I'm going to give you my life story. Live example for me personally. So I don't do this anymore, but I used to shop, like buy, if I went somewhere and let's say I had some extra money, or I had some money to spend, or even if I didn't have extra money, let's just say I got paid, I would ignore my bills and immediately get that rush and take that money. I would go out shopping. I say, oh, I'm just going to go buy a shirt. So then I would like the shirt and like the way it fits. So I want it in all the different colors. Now, I don't do this anymore, but I used to. Years later, fast forward, as I started doing this type of work, I had to admit to the story around something that I was not seeing. I was purposely blocking myself and didn't realize it. So I found comfort. It made me feel rich. There was a feeling I got of feeling wealthy, of feeling rich when I went off to buy these things. I would never verbalize that or say it, but internally I felt very able to buy something. And some of you may be like that around food. You may sit down at restaurants and eat, and that same feeling and ability to do that causes you to feel that kind of a richness. Well, there was a block there, because what I was actually doing was I was finding some comfort in that because other areas of my life were out of whack. I wasn't happy in my relationship. I did not ended up broke at the end of the month, but yet I found myself creating it. And the block there was me not being willing to actually admit that other areas in my life were out of whack. And so I was finding pleasure in the spending and the material of it all. Hope that helps you today. Identifying your block. I'm only sharing my story so that you can put your finger on the story that you're making up in areas in your life right now. Financial, physical, spiritual, relationship. What is that you are hiding from yourself that could possibly, once you admit it, expose a block that's sitting there? That's some good stuff, guys.
That's great.
So, very valuable. That's what we're talking about, guys. That's your personal development piece. So now, I know it's a lot. I'm going to hand it back to Chris. She's going to quick recap for today. And then we're going to give you some announcements and something free.
All right, cool. So, what you just talked about, and just looking at as we went on this journey, and we created a log of what we were spending, and we looked at the feelings that we were having, and then we created a map to where we wanted to go. And, like T was talking about, not to judge yourself, not to beat yourself up, because that's one problem I have, where I beat myself up about the goals that I'm trying to achieve. And then if I'm not there by a certain time, then forget it, right? And so what I really want everybody to do is just to really recap everything we've talked about and think about, what does being secure mean to you? What is it? What worries you about money? Is it running out of money? Just look at all of those feelings that are going through, because there's something magical that happens when you're able to analyze, like Tia was talking about, what the feelings are around that. When you can identify it, there's a recognition is ignition. It blows it away. You recognize it. It's not something hiding behind somewhere that's going to jump out and get you. You see it. The light is on. That way you can make a change. So we want to take all of the processes, and we've walked through something for the last few weeks. We've gone on a journey of spending, of keeping track, of paying attention. And now we want to identify where we're at, where we're going, and now this cash flow. What's the trigger? Like, I get really excited and I want to go have a Starbucks, right? Because it makes me feel like I've accomplished something, or whatever it is. What's your trigger? Just watch it, journal it, pay attention to it. And this is all going to tie together, because money is a mindset. It's a way that you think. It's a way that we're going to put together a whole state of being. It isn't just making money and I can tell you to save. You know, you're not being inspired to save. Why should you save? Change the word save and take it out of the picture and create a spending plan, right? And it changes the way that you look at it. You actually become excited to do it. So we're going to talk about all of that and our next week's conversation, Tia, and how to unlock all that.
Yes. So our next week conversation is forgiving yourself for the money block that you have created. Forgiving yourself for the money block that you have created or that you have. So this week, you're going to do what Chris said. You're also going to be looking at what story are you making up about yourself around these topics. You know, what could you possibly be trying to hide from yourself? Pay attention to all of that. And then when we come back, we're going to look at how do you now forgive yourself for that block that you have been responsible for creating or that you've recognized that was there from a childhood. You know, we got to go through a letting go forgiveness process around this. So hope that helps you all. I know that Chris has something to give, but before she does, are there any questions that you may have chatted in the box? We always tell you, I forgot to tell you at the top of the call, put your questions in the chat box so that we can take a couple of them before we end our call. Ivy, are there any questions that you can see?
Yes, I have one right here.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
This is the spot on what if I find it hard. It went away. What was that, Ivy?
So I identify my block.
Oh, say it one more time.
Let me do it again. And here we go.
If it's hard to identify my block. Okay. So I'm going to go back to answer that one. If it is hard to identify your block, that's why it's blocked. It's hiding from you. And the only way to find it, the first step is to say, okay, once I start searching, whatever pops up, I'm not going to judge myself for it. When you actually say those words, don't just hear it, but you got to commit it to your heart and yourself. You unlock the possibility of diving deeper. That's the first layer that's blocking you. So you got to get rid of your pride. You got to get rid of that self-criticism. You got to be willing to look at it and take the judgment off of it. It is what it is. It's not right or wrong. It just is. I need for you to get rid of that. And then we can have the conversation of ask yourself, whatever this is, because I don't know who asked the question. So if the block is around a relationship, spiritual, physical, or finance, I'm not sure which one it is for you. But whoever asked the question, what I want you to do is I want you to look at, identify which area you have a block in, and then ask yourself, what am I afraid of finding out about myself around it? So if you get honest and real about it, there's going to be something that comes up and you're going to have to see it. What are you afraid of seeing? Could it be that you have been responsible for it? Could it be that you drowned yourself in that because you feel you're lacking something in another area? What is that? What is that? So that's the beginning way of you being able to find that block. Of course, it's hard to find it. That's why it's called a block. Sometimes you need someone else around you. You might have to ask some people around you who probably know what it is, but they won't approach you with it because they're afraid that you may snap at them or come back at them. And to be honest, those of you that are listening, a lot of times people have told you what your block is, but they maybe did it in a confrontational way, so you didn't receive it. But there was something inside of you that was like, ouch, they're right, but you didn't want to admit it.
And that's perfect, Tia, because it totally relates to when we were talking about in the money part of it, and we were having people a few weeks ago keep a journal of the spending, right? And pay attention to where you glitched out, right? Where you just go unconscious, like you were talking about when you go and buy the shirt and you buy 5 colors of it. You know, I used to do, 5 Starbucks a week, right? And where it was just ridiculous. I could buy all the ingredients and make it myself. So where is it that you go unconscious? And when you journaled, when you paid attention, then you could see, oh, I did that. I knew I didn't want to spend that money. I just spent that money. And you go, well, why did I spend that money? And that's where you go back to what Tia was talking about with the forgiveness and without judgment. You're just watching a movie. It's not like you have to be all emotionally attached to you. It's like you're outside of yourself and you're getting another point of view that will let you rise above it.
Ooh, I wish we had more time on this one.
No, we're just like unwrapping it. I know. We just got to get open it.
Next week we'll probably get into some of this stuff even more because I got a good story, but I don't have time to tell it. I could tell on myself all day long on this topic, guys.
Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there any more questions in there? I see 2 little things.
I think that's it for tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Great. Super duper. So all
we
right.
have some announcements, but before I give the announcement, Chris, did you want to give something away?
Okay, I do. I've got so many blessings. It's an abundant. I can only give a little bit at a time so I don't get overwhelmed. But I have a present for you guys, and it's called the spending plan or the saving plan, and it's designed to help you organize your finances. And it's going to give you a visual picture of your spending habits, and with that knowledge comes wisdom. It's just what we're talking about. Now, we're talking about spending, but just like I'm saying, whatever level it's going to relate to you, you can do the same thing for spiritual relationships. But this will be, you'll be able to download this. And there's a step-by-step instructions. It's going to actually show you how to determine where the money's coming from, where it's going, what you need to pay attention, and you're going to gather all this information, and everything is going to be provided for you. So then you'll be able to see it all on a paper. And by seeing it, it's going to show you how you'll be able to create a spending, and I won't use the word, right, savings. But we're going to change the energy on that to spending, right? So it's really cool because the goal is here, you guys. Down the road, I'm going to show you how to create income you'll never outlive. Can you imagine getting a check in your mailbox every month for the rest of your life, guaranteed? I'm going to show you how to do that. But that's kind of advanced because you got to have savings. You got to have an 9-month rainy day money. So there's a lot of things we're going to build on. But right now, we're in the core. We're in the DNA part of it. So there's your spending saving plan.
Ooh, thank you, Chris. So I'm going to give you all some announcements as we wrap up this call. Your announcements today are, number 1, I want you to know that you can become a part of our Facebook community for Money Mindsense. If you go into Facebook and type in Money Mindsense with an S, you will see our community and you can join us there. So you can stay in touch with us there and see what's going on next. Also on YouTube, these Zoom calls are posted on our YouTube page. We have something called Legacy Shifters. Go to our website, legacyshifters.com. And on our website, you can see our upcoming events for 2017. There, you're able to make some plans, save your money, and make financial decisions. Because in March, on March 25th and 26th, we will be in Chicago doing an Envision Day for the public. And then we will have one the second day for adults and their parents, bridging the gap around the money conversation. We get to spend pretty much a whole day with you eating lunch, breakfast, making vision boards, but actually creating a personal plan that maps out step by step how you achieve that particular goal. That is going to be awesome. You're talking about getting results. That's in Chicago. That's on our website. Go to legacyshifters.com, click our event button. You'll see our events line up for you. So Chicago, March 25th, 26th. Atlanta, Georgia, ladies, we have a private affair happening for women of influence. Only 100 women. This is a private event on a beautiful campus. The hotel is totally private, blocked out for us. It is very glamorous.
Yes.
It is very private because we will have women professionals there, women who are in the limelight because of their husbands being famous, or maybe their husbands are professionals, and it puts them as a family in the light of the public. And all eyes are on you. What do we have for you? It's a private affair. She lives a public life, a couture event for women of influence. That's April 1st in Atlanta, Georgia. You join us on March 31st that evening. We're going to have some wine, some meet and greet, get to know each other, check into our rooms. The whole hotel is ours, and the conference center is private. Beautiful grounds, guys. At this particular event, we are going to have a panel of women that come from mega churches, pastors' wives, professionals that come from the professional world, television, and we also have events that happen in San Diego and Temecula that are free. So if you can't get to those, you can send friends and family to them. But if you're in the San Diego area or the Temecula area, we have free events that are happening as well. You can find those events on our Money Mindset, Chris's Facebook page. You can find us also on legacyshifters.com. Tons of ways to get in touch with us, guys. We made sure we covered that.
Right. Legacy Shifters.
Legacy Shifters. We're at a 1-minute countdown. Did we say everything we needed to say? I think so.
I think we have. We're really excited to be here, and we have tons and tons of blessings for all of you. Thank you all.
Yes.
Next Monday.